What's up, guys? It's Skip. I'm back in my garden. I've got my coffee. I'm ready for a walkthrough. It's July 12th. It's a nice overcast rainy day. So it's been 8 days since we've done a walkthrough. So I'm going to show you plenty of new growth, show you what's going on. I got some fungal issues as usual. I just want to remind you guys once again, I'm not a pro. I'm just a hobbyist trying to give back to the community here. What I do aim to offer is a little perspective from the hobbyists, what can go wrong, what can go right, how I do things. So come on, let's do a tour. All right, starting out at the entrance again, we've got our pole beans. They are jumping up in height. I built another trellis for the other side so that we can have two separate walls of beans here. And they're starting to grow up it, which is nice to see. I've only gotten a couple beans off of that. Peas here, again, they are producing pods, so we're letting those grow and saving the seeds from those. Bush beans on the first row here has produced a little bit for us. We've got some dilly beans inside pickling. Swiss chard, eating a ton of that. More bush beans here. Some extra parsley aside from the herb garden. Been using that to make tabbouleh with the cucumbers that are coming off the vine over there. Zucchini. Zucchini grows super quick. I don't know if you guys remember what they looked like 8 days ago. They are tremendously bigger. We've got a giant male flower on that one there, so if I see some females on that one open up, I will grab it and self-pollinate with those. If you guys don't know, the female flower is what actually produces the fruit. Let's see if I can find one in here for you. These look like mostly male flowers here. Oh, that looks like it's going to be a female flower, as it's got a little bit thicker stem there, and that's going to produce a zucchini, it looks like, as long as it gets pollinated. And then our kale here, still eating on that, delicious and nutritious. The slower moving pepper bed here, we've got ace bell peppers, shishito peppers, and bequino peppers in each row here. The shishitos obviously took off the quickest. They're producing fruit, but they're still well behind my chop and drop bed over there that I'm going to show you guys again. The bequinos naturally grow a little bit smaller than all the other varieties anyway. We've got some dill, and I'm actually just letting this broccoli go to flower because every time I come out here there's pollinators on it and little parasitic wasps, and we really like to see those things in the garden, so I'm just going to let that go to flower. It's nice to see. I've got a beet here that needs to go home with me. Nice healthy beet, just pulled it out of the ground there. I got a couple more coming along. Gonna sow some more of those so I can keep harvesting. My wall of cucumbers is awesomely producing. As you can see, just about every plant is up to the top. Just about all of them have been dropped at least once. And what I mean by that is these are little yo-yos basically that can lock in place, and then you can drop the plant down about 6 inches just by loosening that there. And this is actually the one that I've dropped the most, so you can come down here and see there's a ton of stem hanging out down here, probably about 2-3 feet worth. But these plants can grow about 20 feet or so, so when you're growing them up, you got to have a way to be able to drop them. Or what some people do is they will let them grow singularly up the vine, or up the rope rather, and once they get to the top, they'll stop pruning the suckers off and let them water fall down. That's another tactic. What I'm using is more of like a greenhouse tactic where you grow them straight up, one direct line, you cut all the suckers off. It produces fruit at all of those sucker points. This lemon variety is producing a ton of flowers, but a bunch of them are male. And just like those zucchini over there, the females are the only ones that produce the fruit. So hopefully we get some pollination in there. I'm not really a hand pollinator. I'm hoping all the nature out here does the work for me. Our ever-bearing strawberry bed is pushing out a second round of strawberries currently. That's what all these little white flowers are. You can see that guy right there is exactly what that used to be. You can actually kind of see the full progression here. So we got, starts out as that white flower, turns into that guy, and eventually it'll be a strawberry and turn nice and red. That volunteer tomato plant that just popped up here, growing nice and healthy, looking like it's going to be maybe a Roma variety or a San Marzano, something along those lines. I'm not the best at telling the difference between the two. Oh, just had a bee fly in my face. I love to see bees out here. This is that chop and drop pepper bed I was telling you about that is just leagues beyond the other bed. I mentioned in my other video, but I forgot to mention this time, that other bed down there with the peppers that isn't growing quite as rapidly, I mulched it super heavy, super thick mulch. And I'm confident what that did is it cooled the soil down. So this has just warmer soil. It's a little bit further above ground, so that's nice. Keeps it warmer, but peppers love the warm weather, and this thing is just spitting out fruit. It's crazy. There's peppers all over this thing, and there's dozens more flowers, dozens and dozens more flowers. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to make some good hot sauce with those. These are the Bequino pepper. The other ones over there don't even have fruit on them, but this one also has dozens of fruit on it. I think Bequino, I believe, is Portuguese for bird beak. So if you look at that one there, you can see kind of where they got that name. Got one of each of those, or one on each side of the shishito is a Bequino. So this is a small bed. It's a 2x4, but I've got 3 pepper plants in it, and they're doing just fine. I've got a pretty concerning issue over here with my pumpkins and cantaloupe. There is this issue going on. This turns black pretty quickly here, so it like just kind of deteriorates completely through the leaf. You can see through it, and then it turns black like that leaf there. So I'm going to come through, I'm going to prune off the bad stuff, obviously, but that's where these plants are getting most of their photosynthesis from, is that the one of the 4 leaves there. So we'll see if I can turn these around. I've got some copper fungicide. We'll see if that works on it. Maybe do a little bit of research and figure out what I'm doing wrong. It might be something in my soil. The tomato bed, which has some Napa cabbage in it still, which is still getting completely destroyed by earwigs and slugs. It's not even the cabbage moths destroying those, I've figured out. But I've got tomatoes growing healthy. There are a few leaves on the bottom with some discoloration, possible fungal issue, but I got putting up a video on my TikTok, this dysfunctional gardener. Go follow me on TikTok, but I'm putting up a video on there of what I do about those leaves on the bottom that are starting to go. Marigolds and basil growing in just nicely. Again, not as nicely as I'd hoped, but they're growing, they're doing their thing, so serving their purpose. Plenty of fruit coming in on these, but none of it's ripening yet. I've got plenty of friends here in Michigan that have ripe fruit, but I'm just gonna be patient because there's plenty of them on here. So as long as I'm patient, they'll come around, they'll turn. Cornfield, doing really well. Aside from my own mistake where I didn't stake this down well enough, I only put 1 stake on each corner, and that storm that just came through picked it up and dropped it on this kind of back row here. You can see a bunch of them are stomped down, but they might pick back up. We'll see. They didn't get completely broken, they just kind of got stomped down, so hopefully they come around, but I'll have plenty of corn regardless. I've got 64 plants in here. If I lose 8 of them, I'll be okay. This is one of the blueberries over here. This is the one that's producing the best. That's why it's covered in netting, so birds don't get at it. And we got a few more blueberries over here. These ones are just starting to blush. These weren't the healthiest blueberry plants at the beginning of the year, so we brought them back to life, and we're happy they're producing fruit again. Show you this one here too. Love to see fruit on it. We got the cone flowers. My buddy Alex asked me how I got the cone flowers looking like this, and all we did was add compost on top of them, and they kind of self-seeded from last year. The Yasta berries, which I like to call Jamie Josta berries, but they've stopped producing for the year. They didn't produce a ton. I think it's their 5th year, and even the little bit that we got this year is the most it's ever produced, so we're happy to see that. And all the flowers along the edge here. My tiger lilies are the favorite. I know you're not supposed to pick favorites of your kids, but these are my favorite flowers in the garden for sure. They just look so beautiful to me. Moving along, I think this grassy stuff is going to be a late season flower. If not, I'm going to pull it. But we put some wildflower seeds out, and I think that's what that is. A few more pollinators, the raspberries, a few more pollinators, a dead tree, and then our last raspberry. Show you something in on this raspberry here. It also has a bit of an issue. I'm gonna prune off all this bad growth here, all the dead stuff, and maybe spray some copper fungicide because we've got something going on in here too. And last but not least, I'm sure everyone wants to see the cannabis that's growing. I got a few smaller plants here. that are growing nice and healthy. It just rained, so that's why there's water on the leaves. This is the big plant that volunteered itself right at the beginning of the season, so it's going to be a monster. And growing cannabis, you got a few options. You can pinch the tops. So if I pinch this right here, the two side shoots, let me focus in there. All right. So if I pinch this right here, those two side shoots will grow straight up and it'll be two tops instead of one. I did that twice. As you can see down here, there's one split and then there's another split. And then I put the screen on it. So instead of just having the 4 tops, I pushed it out. We've got a little bit more than a dozen tops now. That's it, guys. That's the whole garden, other than the container garden over here, which isn't doing the greatest. You can see a little yellowing on the leaves of the tomatoes. I'm going to treat it just like the other ones. Again, go watch my TikTok. I got a little info video up there about it. The lunchbox peppers are starting to turn red, which is awesome. Start harvesting those pretty soon. All right, guys. I think that's about it. All right, guys, once again, if you've made it this far in the video, I just want to say thank you for your interest in gardening. Thank you for your interest in my garden. If you gained anything from the video, please give it a like, give me a subscribe. I'm going to continue these updates every, hopefully 7 or 10 days. I'm going to go make a smoothie. I got a beet, some fresh kale here. As always, take care of yourselves, and if you can, someone else too. Later.